Good afternoon. I'm Doc D.
I'm Michele,
and we are the Mangums.
We want to welcome you to Straight Talk about the blended family.
We appreciate you tuning in to us today, and we pray that we will give you a fresh perspective on how to allow your blended family to mesh and to blend well. Good afternoon. I'm Doc D.
I'm Michele,
and we are the Mangums. Welcome to another amazing broadcast today on WBGR Health and Wellness Network. Before we get started with our topic today, I'd just like to open up with a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity. As we come today, God, we are excited to give some valuable tips and nuggets to help our audience and to help everyone understand in the blended family to navigate through conflict resolution. So we thank you today. Bless everyone that's going to be listening. Bless everyone that's going to be focusing in the audience, God. We thank you again for WBGR Health and Wellness Network. We thank you for everyone that's a part of this amazing organization. So we give you glory. Use us today for your glory. In the precious name of your Son. Amen.
Amen. All right. So now we want to just take time to thank all our listeners and thank those who have been sharing the page with other people, getting them involved. We did have some questions, and we are going to address those questions today in our topic, conflict resolution. We also want to thank those who are sponsoring the show, and if you'd like to be a sponsor, you may feel free to do so. You can email my husband at drblend, drblend1 @gmail.com, or you can email me at simplypeachymm@gmail.com. It's simplypeachymm@gmail.com. We want to thank the WBGR Health and Wellness Network, Lionel Green, President, CEO, founder, and the staff. We want to just thank them all for being with us in this endeavor. And we want to thank God for using us, to touch people's lives and to help their blended families be better.
Yeah, today we have a really hot topic. We're going to talk about conflict resolution today within the blended family.
Absolutely.
Conflict is basically defined as a disagreement of opinions or needs. As we live in this life as humans, number one, and as people, number two, and as married couples with kids, and specifically blended families, there are a plethora of conflicts to take place as you begin to open up or begin to think about going into a blended family, or even if you're in the blended family right now. If you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your family, there's a lot of conflict going on that we don't address. I was just talking to someone recently, and they said that most people don't like conflict. They rather just give in. But my wife want to share some things.
I just wanted to say, let's keep in mind, all conflict is not negative. There's some conflict, that's negative, but then there's some conflict that's not. So don't just automatically assume if I bring this topic up, my spouse or my kids or whatever, or my parents or grandparents are going to, don't assume how they're going to respond to you. Okay? It may not be negative. So just keep that in mind. All conflict is not negative.
One of the most challenging things is going into a blended family. Understanding that I'm getting to meet some new people, a new dad, a new mom, bonus dad, even some bonus brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And there's going to be some likes and dislikes, some disagreements. Most people are going to come in with a defensive attitude because there's been a change. And for most young people, even adults that's in the blended family, they don't like the change that has happened. You may not like your new bonus mom or your new bonus dad. And most of us, we let them know that we don't like them. Maybe not verbally sometimes, but our body language, how we don't really want to connect with them without even taking the opportunity to get to know them. And today we want to kind of give you some tips and some resolutions of how to navigate around that. But the reality is, my wife and I know, is that when blended families are started, there's a lot of uncertainty. And sometimes uncertainty leads to fear, and sometimes fear leads to anger because you have no control of what's taking place in your blended family. So conflict arises. Or let's look at this from a realistic standpoint. A lot of times when you go into a blended family, there's some baggage and some unhealthy things that you haven't gotten rid of. You haven't gotten counsel. So what you do, you come in and you already are in conflict. And you know what? The real thing is that you're in conflict with yourself. You don't like yourself. You don't like how you feel. You don't like what your maybe your dad is marrying a new woman, or your mom is marrying a new man, and you don't like it. But let's take the things and look at ourselves. Let's be like Michael Jackson's song said, the man in the mirror. I'm not trying to change the song. Are the women in the mirror? Are the kids in the mirror? Because most conflict, really, it starts internally with us. Maybe we haven't addressed. And you know what the reality is? We're stuck in the past. Mm-hmm. And we take everything that we're stuck with on the new people that's coming into the blended family. And I kind of want to address this kind of real quick. We had a question that came on the WBGR network about how bonus grandparents are being mistreated by the biological grandchildren. And I told my wife, I said, there's some stuff going on with that.
Absolutely.
Somebody putting some stuff in that biological grandson's mom. And you know what? It's unfortunate that you as an adult and a grandparent, bonus or biological, is spreading unhealthy seeds to your bonus or biological grandchildren about the other parent, the outside parent, or the parent that's now in the house. And the grandparents feel disrespected. Are you promoting disrespectfulness in the blended family with the bonus grandparent? Are you doing that? What do you think about that, Cheryl?
I think that one thing that we need to keep in mind when we're dealing with grandparents, whether it's the bio grandparent or the blended grandparent, if number one, they're being positive, number two, they're coming to help out. If they're getting involved to help out, that's one thing. You can receive that. You can receive when somebody's being positive and they may see something, that's going on in the family, and they may, say something. Don't jump on them, and make them feel bad about saying something, because they're only trying to help. Now, if they're being negative, that's a whole nother story. Then that's where your boundaries need to come in at, if they're being negative. But if they're being positive, you can always, even if you don't agree with them, you can be respectful with your response.
Yeah, and I think that the reality is that when we get into a blended family, sometimes we forget it takes time. It takes time for the new bonus mom, the new bonus dad,
absolutely,
the new bonus children, the new biological dad, the new biological mother, the new biological children. It takes time. And see, what really the problem is, if we're going to keep it 100 today, is that you have no control over what your son or your daughter did. Unfortunately, there was divorce. Unfortunately, there was death. Unfortunately, some things happened that really promoted the blended family, or promoted your son or your daughter marrying somebody that you may not even know. And most conflict happens is because we don't know. We don't know the person. We don't want to take time out to know them. And what we do, we allow this to filter down. And a lot of us as adults and should be mature. See, I learned this, that just because you have a certain chronological age,
that's right,
doesn't mean you're mature. I'm not picking on nobody. I respect my elders. I respect people that are older than me. But a lot of the conflict comes when we have very little information, or we don't want to take time out to learn that new bonus grandson or granddaughter, or we put these negative thoughts, or we set a negative front with our own biological grandchildren not to like the mother, the new mother, or the new grandparents. Listen, in order for our families to really understand that we can be phenomenal and be great, we have to learn to give and take. Our essence, compromise with a blessed attitude or a positive attitude. So babe, grandparents really control a lot of what happens in their grandkids, whether they're bonus or biological. What do you think about that?
They do. They pour in, and hopefully they're pouring in positively, like I said. Right. But another thing we need to keep in mind as far as the grandparents are concerned, when you get into this blended family, not only, we already went over in one of the other shows that you it's really no longer about blood. It's all about the family system now. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
So it's about the family system. So once you do that, there's no biological grandparents, well, I'm going to buy for my biological grandchild, definitely. But not for
the bonus
grandchildren, because that makes them feel like they're not a part of the family. That makes them feel like, they don't count or they don't matter. This is a whole, and the parents will have to step in and intervene when it comes down to that. And I know it's probably, some people that don't agree, that you figure, well, that's my bio grandchild, that's the only one that I'm going to spend my money on, but that's not the right attitude to have, I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, because here's the deal. The children that are involved in this blended family system, whether they're bonus or bio, they become casualties of the adults' attitudes and behaviors.
Yes.
And maybe the grandparents need to be loved. Maybe the grandparents need to learn how to love their bonus children. And yes, listen, it's a two-way street. You cannot Absolutely. Just do one thing for one and don't do it for the other, as my wife previously stated. But I really believe that if you allow God, number one, and number two, if you allow love, because guess what? We all really need to be loved, especially children, that's coming into this amazing blended family. Absolutely. And I think, the part of the village is not just the people that are living in a house that are connected by blood and connected by marriage, but the people that are outside of the house. Because what we want to realize is that we serve a viable purpose in creating a blended family that has honor and respect and love. And so I really understand sometimes the conflict may be great, but I want to say this. Are you part of the problem? Are you part of the solution? Ask yourself that question. Because a lot of times we become more part of the problem versus being the solution, and we continue to carry it on over and over again. And what we do, we won't be honest with ourselves about the conflict that we're still in. Maybe you didn't like the person your grandson or your son or your granddaughter or your daughter chose. But let them make that choice. Too many times we want to put our hands in stuff, and then when it don't work the way we want to work, we have conflict. And conflict, like my wife said, is not always negative and unhealthy, but it's who putting it out. What mindset are you putting the conflict out? What mindset are you want to always get your way? And you know what I found out, and I want my wife to add into this, I found out that some of us as mature adults, we still want our way because we act like we 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not putting you down, I'm keeping it real. We throw our own tantrums.
Yeah, we keep it real here.
We have adults that's older than my wife and I, they're still throwing tantrums about what they can't have. Yeah, tantrums rather, of what they can't have. And what you do, you spread that idea and that mindset down to other people in the family. And so the kids are the one that get hit. They're the one that get assassinated. Or you're assassinating your grandchildren, whether bonus or bio. What you think about that, Shirley? You want to add something else? Or
I wanted to add that when you treat all the kids, parents, grandparents, bio, non-bio, when you treat all the kids, with appreciation, they will appreciate you. That's what I wanted to say. They will, when you treat them, all kindly, and if it's somebody's birthday and you give them birthday, you might not be their bio grandparent, but if you still acknowledge their birthday and you're still kind to them, believe me, it's just like when a teacher has an impact on a child. They say something kind, they build them up, they help restore them, because we know it comes from a loss. The blended family starts from a loss. So correct. When they're already broken and hurt. So when you come in as the bio grandparent or the bonus grandparent, I'm telling you, you will have an impact on that child's life if you are positive. If you come in positive and you treat them just as kindly as you would your bio grandchildren or your bio children. I'm telling you right now. They will say later on down the line, we know people who are who are successful And because of the people in their lives that spoke positive stuff into them, now they can't get past that. They're always giving them praise. They're always saying, oh, this person was kind to me. This person, where I thought I wasn't going to make it, this person helped me out. Or this person, said something to me that just invigorated me and made me do better. That is what affects people's lives in a positive manner. And that's the whole purpose of this show, is to help people get better in their blended family situations, give them tools.
Yeah, at all levels.
Yeah, give them tools that's going to help out, that's going to help make it better. Because we know that when the family is better, society is better.
Yeah, one of the things, too, I want to say this to grandparents, whether you're bio or whether you are bonus. The bio parent, grandparents should not think or believe that the bonus grandparent is trying to take your place.
That's right.
They're not trying to take your place with your grandchildren, your blood grandchildren. Mm-hmm. They're trying to be, hopefully, a mentor and a coach and a loving grandparent. I have somebody that's real close to me and my wife that did a phenomenal job just because of her spirit. She ended up buying gifts during Christmas for great-grandchildren that she hasn't even met yet.
Yes.
But they're part of our blended family system.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that you can do that. See, if we learn to give as grandparents, and we live not just to take. And I want to say this to you, bonus and you bio parents, that it's very important that if your children or child is disrespecting the bonus grandparents, you as the biological parent, our parents need to have a conversation with that child to find out what is going on. Why are you treating your bonus grandparents different than you treat your bio grandparents? Listen, I understand probably the quick answer is that, well, I've known them longer. I understand you've known them longer, but the reality is nobody deserves to be disrespected.
That's right.
Nobody deserves to be treated less than who they are. And we have to, as adults, as bonus and biological parents, with these children that we have, that we've been blessed with, we have to be the compass for them. A lot of times we're not the compass. We're still trying to deal with our own inner conflict, and we spread that conflictory spirit down to them.
Or we're allowing them to work it out for themselves. Children aren't always mature enough to work it out for themselves. So parent your child.
Yeah, and my wife is on point. And I think that we have to do this with a sense of concern and a sense of urgency now, because I've gotten comments back from where grandparents are just allowing their non-biological grandchildren to treat them anyway. And one parent said, I'll just stay out of the way. No, your job as a bonus grandparent that has love in their heart, your job is not to stay out of the way. But again, you as the biological parent, I want to encourage you that you need to have a conversation with your child, your children, because you need to find out what's going on. What has given them this picture, this negative picture, or this picture to disrespect their non-biological grandparents or their bonus grandparents? Because listen, stuff don't happen overnight. Let's be honest.
That's right.
We're feeding something that's not healthy. We're giving them an appetite. We're spoon feeding them things about maybe their bonus grandparents, because most of the stuff the kids they treat people, they get it from home, they get it from someone outside of the home,
what they heard,
and they bring it back in, and then they exercise that without wisdom. My wife said earlier that we can't let our bonus children, our biological children, self-soothe, especially with issues that's causing them burdens, that's causing them internal trouble. We have to be the champion for them. As bonus parents, as biological parents, listen, let me tell you something. I've loved my grandmother, God rest her soul, and I didn't have a bonus grandmother that I knew, because my bonus grandmother, she had passed before my mom and my bonus dad got married, so I didn't know her. But let me tell you something: the pride and joy of every grandparent, whether bonus or bio, is their grandchildren. My wife and I, we are grandparents, and we love our grandchildren. Whether they're we have bonus grandchildren,
yes, we do,
as well as bio grandchildren.
Yes.
So we really love them. And we
Absolutely.
appreciate them because what I recognize that they are in a place to be blessed.
Yes. You didn't cue me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All right. So now we want to go on to hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Using usually when a step family is formed, there's a broken relationship left behind, and it's difficult to children to sort out allegiances in these situations.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk about sorting out allegiances. How can we help them sort out allegiances? What you think?
Well, one thing that's very important is to have a conversation. Communication is key.
Okay. Yeah.
It is. I mean, we can't stress enough communication, because people start thinking things, or kids will hear adult conversations, and that's another thing. Be careful, adults, about these adult conversations that you're having around the kids. Whether you're upset with their bio parent, their other bio parent that's not in the home, you should not be having those conversations you can have between you and your spouse, but don't have them in front of the kids, because then they're looking at, they're hurt, because they love both of y'all. So they're looking at, oh, they talking about my mom, I love my mom, or they talking about my dad, I love my dad, So it's very important that you don't have these adult conversations, whether you're angry with the other adult or not, the other parent or not. Don't have these adult conversations in front of the kids. It's very important to communicate, but communicate where they can understand. You know what I mean? If you're talking about, your mom, which would be their grandparent, aggravated you, and you're talking about that, then of course when they see their grandparent, they're going, they're going to take it out on them. They're going to look at them, like, oh, you made my mom angry, or you made my dad angry. It's very important that we guard children from adult stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, when we talk about conflict, one thing I realized about conflict, Sugar, is that most adults don't like conflict.
No.
They run from conflict. And maybe because they don't have the personality to stomach conflict. But if you continue to avoid conflict, what happens is that residue or that pain of that disagreement, or, where it's been uneasy, it continues to perpetuate, it continues to grow. Because I think the reality is, when we grew up, maybe we grew up in a conflictory home. Maybe we saw parents arguing and disagreeing. Maybe that was in front of us. And one of the things we said, we don't ever want to be in a place with a husband or a wife or with children where we have to deal with conflict. And let me tell you something, dealing with conflict is not easy, because some people are very dominant.
Yes.
And they're very aggressive when they go to a conflict, and it puts us on the defensive. Or, a lot of times in an aggressive situation, we get really intimidated by the person that seems more dominant. So what we do, we concede. Let me tell you something. When you concede, when you give up, you give them more rooms to continue to treat you the same way, or continue not to value your opinion or what you feel great about or what you perceive or your perspective. So I think sometimes you have to get to a place to stand up, and a lot of times, let me give you this tip. A lot of times when there's a conflict, people on the defense and people yelling, you heard this before. If everybody's yelling, a lot of people, nobody's hearing anything.
Nobody hears a word.
So if you would decide, if that person is yelling, I'm going to tell you recommendations that you don't get into a yelling contest with them. Here, I'm going to give you a tip. It's free. Start writing down all of what you want to say to them, and write down what they said. And then right beside it, why are they saying that? Because listen, behind every conflict, there's something that did not work out. There's a trigger. And sometimes because we don't handle those things, those unresolved issues, those unresolved hurt, we bring into a disagreement, and it's compounded. And so you make people feel, well, if I say anything, I'm going to get beat up. But we got to learn how to use a sports analogy. You need to be on the offensive versus the defensive.
Yes.
And when you become offensive minded, you say, I'm not going to go back and forth for you, because right now you're in a different space. You're angry. You're upset. So this conflict, even though I want to address it, right now is not the time. And it takes a lot of courage.
It does.
It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude, if you will, to say, you know what? I'm going to back away. I'm going to take the high road. I talked about this earlier, but let me tell you something. Taking the high road means that I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to say things to you that are not healthy, that are not beneficial, not uplifting. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take notes, and then let me come back and give you my perspective on what I heard you say.
Once it's calmed down.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's calm, because conflict can be heated, but I want to say this to you too. I'm not a fan of conflict. Never been, but I understand if I don't have some conflict sometime, then I can't trust that I'm growing. Then I can't trust that I've been delivered or set free from that thing.
And there are things in the family that need to be discussed. You know, there are some things, and some of these are going to be hard topics, but they need to be discussed in order for you to move forward, in order for your family to get better, in order for you to work like a well-oiled machine, if you will.
Yes.
But so don't just jump on the defense. You know, sometimes you jump on the defense because of past issues that you had in past relationships that you never got over, and so then you think that your current spouse is bringing that kind of same energy to you, and it's not the case. That's not always the case. So if somebody is coming to you and they're calmly trying to discuss something with you, don't jump on the defense, because most of the time that's when anger pops in. That's when all that confusion pops in, because you jump on the defense and you automatically ready to attack, and it doesn't have to be that way.
And most time when people are dominant, they're hiding something. They're hiding unresolved hurt or some pain.
That's a good point. I wasn't going to go there, but that's a good point. But this is straight talk, though.
But I think also pride plays a role in us being really dominant and always want to have conflict.
Absolutely.
But sometimes the person that maybe is not dominant, let me just encourage you, like I forestated, write it down.
Yes.
And try your best to maintain your composure.
Yes.
Because a calm person normally can calm that person that's running out of control, that's off the charts. And you know what? A lot of times we get in conflict about things that really not that important, but we want to usurp our authority or our dominance. It happens a lot in relationship.
Absolutely.
Because normally in a relationship, you may have a strong-willed person, you may have a person that's not as strong-willed, but that doesn't mean that person is weak.
That's right.
You just don't want to put that person in a corner, because that person could come out. Like if you trap an animal that's normally a mild-mannered animal, you put her or him in that corner, they coming out fighting. And see, you really don't want to come out fighting. But let me say this to you. We're going to get ready to segue into another thing that we feel they call conflict in the blended family.
Absolutely.
Not just the grandparents or the outside parents, but they do contribute to the conflict or the confrontation inside your home. And one of the things I want to give you, if your children are living with you and they see their biological parents maybe every 2 weeks, there's a full custody thing going on, and they're going to come home with some stuff that maybe their biological dad or mom said, or maybe even their bonus mom or bonus dad said if their parents are remarried outside of your home, and they may come home with some negative stuff. What you do, let me give you this tip. Listen to Dr. D. When they come home, listen to what they say and say, you know what? Okay, they said that, but let me tell you how we're going to operate in this house.
That's right.
We're going to love them to life. We're going to pray. And even though the things they said you didn't like or maybe you agree with, we want to have, if believers in the house, we want to have prayer, because what you have to do, you have to put a stopgap measure in, if you will, in that spirit leaking out in your home.
Absolutely.
But if you don't do nothing about it and allow your children to express themselves respectfully and appropriately, but don't allow your children to take on that same behavior or that attitude that where they got from maybe their bonus dad or their biological dad or their bonus mom or their biological mom. So you got to change the atmosphere as quick as possible. And you cannot assassinate them, even if they assassinated you and your character. Your job is not to fight fire with fire. Your job is to fight love with fire.
That's right.
Or good with evil with good, rather.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we want to shift into another problem that causes conflicts in blended families.
Yes, Lord.
Is the use and responsibility of finances.
Money. Dinero, green stuff.
Yes.
Talk about it, Sugar.
Money. So while remarriage or first-time marriage into a blended family can be a time of great excitement and joy in building a new family together offers opportunity for a fresh journey as a blended family. Keep in mind that after all the dust settles, the fiscal financial responsibilities of the new home and family rest on you, the parents.
Yeah, this is one of the things, whether you're blended or not. My wife and I have counseled many couples, and I can tell you now that one of the biggest keys in causing conflict is with money, or the managing of money. We said this earlier. If you are a spender and your husband or wife is not, then y'all need to come together, because your household, maybe you had 2 children before you got married, and maybe your husband had 3. Now y'all went from 3 people to 4 more.
Yes.
So that means 7.
Yes.
So if you have young teenagers or young people, that means you're going to spend more for food. You're going to spend more for gas.
Extracurricular activities.
You're going to spend more. And
School
so
activities.
there has to be an understanding to keep you out of heated conflict about money. There should be agreement that with the big purchases are not going to be done when we not coming together and have a conversation about the big purchases. And the reality is that I know you want to say this is my money, and you may have your own separate bank account. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your bank accounts. That's right. Your bank account. That's
right.
But
whatever works for
you
your
have
family.
to change the personal pronoun from I to we. Because the reality, everything that you do affects everything in that house.
Absolutely.
Specifically financially. And if you don't have a healthy financial plan, it's going to be chaos and it's going to get ugly. And so the reality is that you want to talk about money. Maybe in your previous relationships, you didn't talk about money. Maybe your husband was a spender, your former husband or former wife were spenders, or former girlfriend or former boyfriend, they were spenders, and you guys always ended up in the red. You got to ask God to give you viable wisdom and strength to say, I can't continue what I did in the previous relationship. And sometimes it's a carryover. Let's be honest. We carry over this financial depravity of how to handle finance because we say it's my money. But you know what? Money really matters. And see, your children, bio and bonus, they see the conflict because they hear you yelling. Because when you look at the checkbook, who's managing the checkbook today? Is it the spender managing the checkbook? My goodness.
No,
watch out. I mean,
you don't want the spender handling the checkbook.
Because if you let the spender handle the checkbook, there's going to be some things that don't have no money. And you're going to lose your mind. Especially if you
short at the end of every month.
Especially if you are a frugal person. Frugality. You keep it. You keep an eye on the money. You're not trying to control what they spend so much, but you want to use common sense principles first. That if we're spending more than what we have coming in, that means short. And I don't mean height.
And you need to discuss with your spouse setting financial goals, such as savings, investments, purchasing a home, college for the children. You need to so that y'all can start setting aside savings for specifically for those purposes. It's important to be on the same page when it comes down to finances.
You just drew something in me when you said about college education.
Because
here's the reality. Maybe you are a biological mom and you're marrying a bonus dad. And you have 2 kids. And you've been saving for 10 years for your 2 children college education. Now somebody asked me this question, so I hope you hear me.
Yeah.
And maybe your new husband didn't have a plan to save for his biological children college education. Now this is my recommendation. I recommend you as the mom, the biological mom that save for your kids, don't split your children's college education fund with your new husband and their kids. No. What I want to offer you to do,
because you've already had that in place.
You've already had that in place. And you should not compromise what you save.
That's
but
right.
I want to recommend that since your new husband or new wife did not have a plan, you can sit down with them and say, this is what I did.
Absolutely.
And if you feel led by God and you feel led by your heart to start not just showing them, but to give them some help. If you have some extra money, say, listen, let's put this in a 401k, or let's put this in a particular college fund.
And start it
for their children.
Right.
Because let me tell you something. let me be honest, it's never too late to start saving for college.
That's right.
Because in the 21st century, college tuition is astronomical.
Absolutely.
It blows my mind.
Absolutely.
You know, what I paid back, I ain't gonna tell you what I paid back. What they pay now, I couldn't even get on a meal plan. I had to go out and eat somewhere else, or I learned how to cook real good. But the reality is, most conflict happens because there's no really fiscal responsibility. Or y'all don't want to talk about it. Are you too busy trying to just make it on what you know versus putting a plan together and being consistent with the plan? Like every pay period, we're going to put $40 away for our college tuition for our kids and our college education. And you know what? And I'm not going to tell you to do this as a recommendation. If you are a bonus dad that came into a marriage to a biological mother and she's already saved for her children's college education, if it's feasible and if it's approved or together agreed on it, maybe you need to get you a second job and just use the income from that second job to put in your children's college fund. Because if you start using the strategic methods, then you can get caught up, or you can make sure that your kids have a college fund. I do want to say this, I want my wife to jump in. Don't share with your kids what you haven't done financially with their college education. I think it's important that you keep the conflict down as much as possible, but you can start saving now.
Absolutely.
To allow your children to go to college or to do something amazing with their lives, because there are really amazing bonus and biological children that you guys are blending to make it.
And help them fulfill their potential. You know, everybody on this earth has potential. And so you want to, you know, whatever your child or bonus children's strengths are, play up to those strengths. You know, you want to know what their likes are. What they most like to do is 9 times out of 10 what we're purposed to do. You know, so make sure you encourage them to do their best in school so that they can get a scholarship for college. You know, there's people out here that's just throwing money at college, you know, to send people to college, but they have to have those grades. So make sure that you explain that to them, and make sure that, you know, you position them to succeed in life. You know, when they succeed, I'm telling you, the family succeeds, you know, and it does your heart good to know that your children or your grandchildren are doing well.
And, you know, you want to set up a legacy for your children, too. And you want to start teaching them the importance of money when they get old enough. And I don't want to rule this out. You may have some entrepreneurs in your children, entrepreneurial spirit. Entrepreneurial spirit is important. And if they want to start their own business, they should have some capital. You know, they should have some money saved, or teach them how to save. Because that's what happens when you get older. When you have a healthy financial plan, then you can start talking to your kids about how to save, what to save. When they get money, have them put that money aside. Have them not to become spenders and to become savers. Because the reality is that you want to teach your kids some valuable life lessons. That they're going to learn from you as a bonus dad and a bonus mom, or a biological dad or a biological mom. And we are responsible. We really are.
We
Especially if our kids are in our home. I say this all the time. Leaving a financial legacy is important. But the flip side, because I'm a believer in God, leaving a spiritual legacy is essential. And so the reality is, we're going to have conflict. I'm not ruling out having conflict, but conflict should never be to the place that where everybody is torn up after the argument, after the egregious or the negative spewing. You want to make sure that you change the paradigm by causing healthiness and causing your children and them to be well through the conflict.
Now, we know money isn't the central heartbeat of building a solid blended family structure, but it influences how that structure is formed and developed.
Wow. Say that again. Say that again. That's powerful.
We know. You really want me to say it
I want you to say it again. That's powerful. This is our show. Say it again. Maybe somebody didn't get it. Take your time.
In case you didn't get it.
I'm going to give it to you again.
We really, now we know money isn't the central heartbeat of building a solid blended family structure, but it influences how that structure is formed and developed.
Wow. If you can cut down on your conflict over money and start using that conflict and making it healthy and better, and start using it as a teaching model for your blended family and your blended family children, whether bonus or bio, they will have a different outlook on money.
Absolutely.
The biggest problem, and I believe in the Afro-American community, is that we don't know how to handle money. We don't know how to use money. I said this before. I read this somewhere that when a person of color, and I'm not picking on people of color because I'm of color, when we hit the lotto, they said after 5 years we're broke again.
5 years.
We haven't made the sound investment, the prudent wisdom investment. We just went out and spend. Yeah. And I can understand you don't have certain things, but if you have a plan, see, again, we have to learn how to write down. If you don't want to write something down, put it on a tape recorder. Speak into that tape recorder. Here's plan part A, part B. And you got to stick to it, because if you stick to your plan, I'm not saying don't modify it, but stick with it and let it be your compass to guide you to financial prosperity and to the eliminating of egregious or negative conflict.
And a lot of times in our families, we're not taught how to save or how to invest and all that. But take a page out of the Jewish culture.
Yeah,
they teach their kids young. They teach them about the tithing offering principle.
Okay.
They teach them all about saving for a rainy day. They teach them about investments, and we really need to do that. You know, we don't want to be scraping every month or every week, you know, for our basic needs to be met, you know. So sometimes that materialistic stuff, while it's shiny and look pretty and all that, it's not always the best thing to do. You know, you're teaching your kids how to bling it out, you know, or how to, you know, be of the world, you know, being and it's okay. You want to be a sharp dresser, by all means, be a sharp dresser, but make sure you can afford to do so. You know, You should be able to take money, set it aside, and save. Meet all your needs as far as paying your rent, your mortgage, your groceries, your utilities, you know, that essential stuff. That stuff comes first. That stuff needs to be met first. You know, don't go out buying no $500 pocketbook when you know your rent is due. You know, I mean, that's not being realistic. Just because you want to, you know, appear to have it all or whatever, you know, that materialistic stuff is nice, but it doesn't mean it's not the end all, end all. What's the saying?
Yeah, no, I think you're on point. But one of the things I think too is that listen to what we're saying. Don't just draw your own conclusion or draw your offensive process through what we're saying. We're not telling you how to spend your money, but we're telling you that we understand this from a family tree, from a family legacy, from a community of people of color, that we just haven't done as well as we should have been done, or we haven't been taught as well as we should have been taught about how to manage money, especially when we get in a relationship, we get in a marriage. It's very important that you understand how valuable you are. And let me tell you something. I'm telling you, I'm going to piggyback on my wife. Gentlemen, buy your nice suit. Buy you some nice things. But don't do it at the sacrifice of your needs. Maslow has a hierarchy of needs. And those needs are food and shelter, clothing, that you are responsible for. And so your kids, because you got to realize them little people or them teenagers or even the adults are watching you. Again, ladies, I'm not telling you don't, put your thing down. You want to go to the stores you like to shop at. If you're going to do that, put some money aside. Say, this is a new pocketbook. The pocketbook costs $300, so I'm putting away at least $50 a month or $50 every 2 months. So when I buy that, it doesn't take away from the household income. So I don't have to deal with conflict over money. Absolutely. And we're talking about some things where conflict comes. Conflict has so many phases. We talked about a couple of phases today, but the reality is that you have to know without a shadow of a doubt that you don't want to be in that place of conflict when it could have been avoided. Absolutely. Go ahead, honey.
Now, if you have a question and you'd like to call in and ask us your question, you can either email it to us, you can send it on the, you can respond on Facebook, make a comment, because we will see the comment and we will address it on our show.
We will address it the next week.
Or you can call on 301-429-9247. You can call in and we'll take your call and we will answer you as best we can.
We want to talk to you.
You know, this is interactive. You know, we believe in being interactive, you know. But we want to shift onto another issue that can cause conflict. And that is now child support, paying child support.
We won't get through this section. I'm going to tell you right now. We're not lawyers, but we understand that conflict comes with paying child support. I found this out a couple of years ago by reading about paying child support, is that when you marry into a family and maybe the husband have children or the wife had children that's not living with them, they're living with their bio parents, you are required by whatever state, whatever their laws are regarding paying child support.
And it's important to know the laws of the state you live in concerning child support.
And I think the reality is, excuse me, my wife touched me and I lost my thought. The reality is child support does not come from the non-biological parent specifically. It comes from the biological parent. The bonus parent is not required to pay child support, but here's the reality. Since the money is coming out your household,
absolutely,
the bonus parent has to be on board and they got to know. So you have to be able to do some shifting, you know, to make sure, because the reality is you're paying for your biological or your bonus child to be taken care of. That's what child support is. Now, I'm not crazy about the laws, but I didn't make the laws. And I know the laws has some things in it that doesn't support people that are trying their best. But the reality is you have to pay child support, and it's coming out of your blended family income. And so, you know, it's a touchy subject, but I really want you to understand that together you guys can overcome any financial disparity.
Absolutely.
If you get on the same page, if you understand that we're valuable and we're building something. We're formulating an incredible blended family dynasty.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Money is a currency of exchange. And we all need money. How we use it is very, very important. How we teach about it to our kids, whether bonus or biological, is important, because we need to start becoming, in our community, is people that are astute to handling money. And you got to be willing to take some advice from somebody that know how to do it better than you.
Absolutely.
You got to be. If you need a financial counselor, you need to get one.
Absolutely.
If you need somebody to help you to put together a budget, you need to get one. Because at the end of the day, you really want your blended family to be healthy in as many spaces and many areas as you can.
Yeah.
Money is one of the areas that we struggle with. Not all blended families, but we do struggle with as people of color. And again, I'm not blaming you, because let me tell you something. We did not get the training and the teaching like some of the other cultures about handling money and about, you know, just having the mindset about money and understanding that, listen, I don't want to be married and I'm in conflict over money or what we don't have. Let's put together and let's stop buying so much stuff that we don't use. Some of us got stuff in our houses, in our garages we ain't even never touched. And we've wasted that money. Listen, you don't have to have the latest name things, because when you look up, let me just say this real quick, and want my wife to chime in. When you look at the things that we spend money on, we of people of color are the most consumable buying groups of people in the earth. And so we have to stop being so consumable conscious so that we can build the right family. I'm telling you right now, you deserve to walk beyond what you've been walking beyond in your blended family financially. I want my wife to jump in. Go ahead and jump in, baby.
So the whole point of child support is to ensure, so don't get upset, you know, if your new spouse has to pay child support, because it's to ensure that child is taken care of financially, okay? So that's just life. You know, that's life, that's essential, that's a need, you know.
Hey. You gotta pay
So,
if you're gonna play.
You just have to
pay.
shift. You just have to shift, But now we're going to do a quick shift on whose money, yours, mine, and ours.
Yeah, because that's the thing y'all need to get straight right away.
Yeah, because it's not about you. It's not about just you anymore. You was single. And you've had, you may not have had any responsibilities except for, where you live at and your car note or whatever, But now you are married to somebody who has a child or children, and so it's not, you can't be selfish. That selfish nature cannot dominate this family system, because it's not, you talk about conflict.
Yeah.
It's going to be all kinds of chaos going on in your family if you just thinking about yourself and you doing the same things that you used to do. Now you have to take into contemplation. You have to take into effect that now I'm married to somebody, they have a child. Now we got to make sure everybody in the household is straight away. It's taken care of.
Yeah, we got to get out the way, because it's no longer your money. It's ours money. And I know that's causing some people conflict right now. Because you got your own checking account.
That's right.
You work your own job. This is my money. Guess what? I work for this money.
I get that. All.
I get that you work for your money, but let's keep it real, honey. Brother,
that's right.
Let's keep it real.
Yes.
You may have been a single parent, and maybe that this is for my son. And no. When you said I will or I do, it changed
that's right.
the platform.
Yes, it did.
It means that everything that we have belongs to us. And sometimes it doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
But you got to work towards that.
It takes time.
Because the reality is you deserve to be a unified bunch of amazing, incredible people. And guess what? If you want to mess with somebody, I tell people all the time, mess with their money.
That's right.
And so if you take the attitude that it's no longer just my money, it's no longer just your money, but it's ours. Because when you sit down at the table, everybody's eating from the same meal.
That's right.
Unless you separate, well, you have this corner of the chicken, and I have this corner of the chicken, and I like dark meat, and you got white meat. So I got a problem with that. But let's just compromise.
But it's all right for you to have the light meat and then have dark meat.
It's all right, but since we both make like white and dark, let's share it. Let's slice it down so we both get a chance to taste it.
That's right.
But that's how we should look at it when we think about money.
Yes.
We should be in a place of willing to compromise so that the betterment of the household financially can be at another level.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we don't ever want to be in a state of lack, a state of not having because one of us was selfish and not selfless.
That's right. And another point is, we don't get into telling people how to run their finances as far as, you have your bank account, I have my bank account, or we get a bank account together. You know what I mean? You should have, even if you keep your separate accounts from when you were single, when you get married, you should get a joint account. Put money in it so that it can pay all your bills, all your household bills,
mortgage, all those things.
Exactly,
that's
all that
important.
Stuff. That we recommend that because that's very important.
Because your kids don't want to come home and all the furniture sitting out front,
or the lights are off.
Because it was your turn to pay it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're supposed to use your money.
Yeah.
But since you didn't use your money, I wasn't going to use my money.
Well, because we don't keep up with the schedule. You know how it is.
Well, that's why somebody got mad at the money.
Y'all not keeping up. Y'all not keeping up with the schedule of who should pay what, when, and all that. So
write it
instead
down.
of doing all that, it's just easier to do an account together.
Yeah.
You both can put money into it. If you want to keep your finances separate, you both can put money into it. That's fine. But we recommend you get a joint account. Both put money in it. And let that be to take care of the home stuff, Because
the reality is, let me say this to all you single women listening. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have your own money. All you single gentlemen listening.
Yeah, it really is
It's okay to have your own money. Mm-hmm. But when you make a decision to marry into a family, whether you have children or not, you really made the decision that I'm willing to sacrifice and to be selfless so that we can be better. Now, you have to build that trust.
Absolutely.
Husbands, you got to do what you're going to say you're going to do with the money.
That's right.
Wives, you got to do what you say you're going to do with the money.
Consistent is what my husband is saying.
But if you be consistent. But if you have a viable plan that you agree on, I guarantee you this, and communication is at the top of talking about money.
Absolutely.
Because money does matter.
It does.
And money will allow your family to soar to unexpected heights. Because you know what? The blended family deserves to soar.
Absolutely.
Financially. We deserve to soar internally, where the
Absolutely.
conflicts are not always high.
That's
and
right.
if we're having a conflictory conversation, that it doesn't get blown out of proportion.
That's right.
And we start antagonizing
That's
our,
right.
our loved ones, and we start putting them down. Don't
Yeah.
ever use conflict
No, please
to
don't.
put somebody down or to make them feel
Please
less than what they are. If conflict is going to happen, try your best to have conflict from a healthy attitude. It takes time
Absolutely.
to learn that, because it's a skill
Absolutely.
to deal with people that are just brash and harsh.
Absolutely. Now, as believers in God, we always encourage people to say a prayer. If you think you're going to have a conversation with your spouse that's going to be a little touchy-feely and you don't know how they're going to react, say a prayer and ask God to tell you what to say, how to say, and to allow your spouse to be receptive to what you say. Because when you do that, I'm telling you right now, it really does work. We're not telling you to do anything that we don't do. It really does work. You say that prayer, God will tell you what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And he will allow your spouse to be receptive to what you say. And it won't be a blowout. God handles results. Let him handle results. You don't have to worry about, it being a blowout.
Amen.
But don't go. But also don't go to them like don't go to your spouse like you, because you wouldn't want your spouse coming to you like a wolf,
Yeah, and try to take your
you
head
know,
off.
and barking and no, because you go with an attitude and all that, you 9 times out of 10 gonna get an attitude back, so try to be calm, and just go and have the conversation. These conversations, we know conflict, we know that there are some situations that require to have discussions, but it's very important that you have those discussions. Don't shy away from a discussion because you think it's going to be a conflict. Don't worry about that part. You want to just go to them calmly and just say, something came up and we need to discuss, and then you just tell them what it is.
Because here's the reality. Let me tell you real quick about my wife and I. Mm-hmm. My wife is considered a spender in our relationship. Mm-hmm. I'm considered the frugal person.
He is frugal.
And let me tell you something. I don't try to dominate my frugality over hers, but I sense that, babe, do we really need that? Is it important? And she's taught me a lot. Sometimes you can't change stuff or lower buying stuff and substitute. You got to get the real deal. And sometimes, I will not get the real deal. And so, we want to tell you about our books before we go. We got a couple minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. I got thrown off. Forgive me. But what we want to tell you is that it's okay to be frugal. It's okay to not to want to spend a lot, but talk about it and make sure that there's a green spirit in that when you talk about it. My book, Blending to Make It: Ingredients for a Successful Blended Family, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, probably any store or whatever online. It's the Kindle version. If you need a hard copy, you can reach out to me at drblend1@gmail.com. or my wife at simplypeachymm@gmail.com. Yes. Again, you can reach out to us and we will get you the hard copy book. We're working on some stuff with Amazon and some of to get the hard copy on there. They don't have it yet. But we just want to tell you, we love you. We appreciate you. Have a quick word of prayer as we get ready to close out our show. We pray that you got some conflictory resolution tips so that you don't have to live in conflict.
Absolutely.
That you can have a happy home, because happy wife, happy life, wonderful husband, beautiful kids, everything can take place.
And you want to tune in next week, which is the Valentine's week.
Yeah, we got a special show.
We have a special show planned. Woohoo!
For the blended family.
Yes. So, be my Valentine.
Blended family.
Tune into the show, Blended Family. Tune into the show next week. You're going to have a fantastic time.
Quick word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this amazing show. We pray that we gave some really great tips or some ideas how to flow into a blended family and how to handle conflicts, and let them know that they deserve to win and not to lose. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, we still
Thank
going.
you for tuning in to the
Tune
show.
in.
We appreciate it.
Please share our show.
Share
if you're
the
on
show.
Facebook Live, if you're on Instagram,
Yes.
if wherever, share Straight Talk About the Blended Family. We're coming at you with love. I'm Doc D.
I'm Michelle.
And we are the
Mangums.
Mangums. God bless you. We are prayers that you have a wonderful rest of this week. It's Wednesday. So have a great week.
Absolutely.
Hump day.
Hump day.
Get it done. Thursday and Friday will be here. For you know it, you'll be able to let down your hair and you don't have to deal with no conflict because you're going to talk about it with a smile.
That's right.
And with love. we do love you.
Yes.
We do appreciate your audience.
We do.
Continue to pray for us because this is not just a broadcast. It's a ministry.
Yes.
And we believe that God has chosen us, my wife and I, to be conduits of health and wellness,
Yes.
hope, prosperity, forgiveness, and love. That's all wrapped up in the blended family. We've done it. We believe it. So we want you to know that you're special to us.
Yes, you are.
And that we want you to soar.
Yes.
And we want you not just to survive, but
To
thrive. Because you deserve that. You know that? Look at yourself and say, I deserve to thrive in my blended family.
That's right.
Put yourself in it. Thank you so much. God bless.
Well, it's that time. Time to end the show. But we've had an absolute blast.
Please come back and check us out on next Wednesday from 1:30 to 2:30 to where we will share some more insights on how the blended family can rise. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Peace be upon you.